Goddard flown out of a storm 4 years earlier? Had he flown into the future? Is time travel possible? Time travel, a concept fascinated by many, actually stated by just a few. So how could an individual experience time travel? Well, maybe, just maybe, such a situation did exist. It was 1935, and Wing Commander Goddard had been asked to fly over an abandoned airfield at Drem, near Edinburgh, and report back on its status. Now, as Goddard flew towards the airstrip, the clouds darkened. The runway had cracks all over it. Cattle were grazing on the grass that had sprouted through these cracks, next to a derelict set of buildings, completely incapable of running operations from them. He turned his plane around and set back to his base to report his findings. As Goddard flew, he couldn't help but notice the clouds around him getting darker. It was the start of a great tempest. Now, in order to save his plane and to get himself out of danger, Goddard turned his plane around and headed back to the airstrip at Drem in order to get his bearings. As Goddard neared the airstrip, the clouds opened, giving him a porthole to which to look through. The sun shone through the porthole. The wind ceased and the rain disappeared. Goddard looked down on the airstrip at Drem. The runway was now a perfect grey oblong of concrete. The buildings had been completely rejuvenated and that were obviously operational. Mechanics in blue overalls busied themselves running around yellow planes. Now, Goddard could not understand this, because R.A.F mechanics wore khaki-coloured overalls, and the planes that they trained in were silver, not yellow. Dumbfounded and bewildered, Goddard turned the plane around and set off once more to his base. 4 years later, 1939, at the start of World War II, Goddard was once again asked to fly to the airfield at Drem. This time he flew over it and he looked down, and what he saw was exactly the same image that he'd seen 4 years earlier. Mechanics in blue overalls. Now this appeared quite normal to him, because the R.A.F only a year earlier had moved away from khaki overalls into blue overalls. The R.A.F's trainer planes in 1939 were all painted yellow. They'd moved away from the silver ones that he'd known about in 1935. The buildings obviously operational, and the runway still a dead straight concrete oblong. Had Goddard flown out of a storm 4 years earlier? Had he flown into the future? Had he witnessed what the future would be down there on the ground at Drem? Now I'm going to tell you. Time travel is something that we are all capable of. Regardless of your ability to pilot an aircraft out of a storm. For those of you who simply want to live at a time in the future, beyond that of those around you, simply move the hands of your timepiece. But for those of you who wish to go back in time, you may have to wait just a little bit longer. To go back in time means that you would see the same sights that your ancestors saw, and in doing so, raise the same questions that they did. To achieve this, look at the moon, our planet's orbiting satellite. It has shadowed our Earth since before time began. Every living person that has ever lived on our planet has looked at the moon. Every monarch, every great leader, and every person that forms a limb on your family tree. So you could then say that you have truly gone back in time.